Okay, I'm back. Pat Zemer here with Magna Wave. I don't know what happened on that first go around, but we lost our signal, so I had to reboot and start over again. I'm glad to be here with you on this edition of Magna Wave Office Hours. I do this twice on Tuesdays, 9 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, to where I can answer any questions that you may have with regard to PEMF devices, the therapy, what the therapy is, how it works, machines, comparison of machines in some regard, Gauss levels, all that kind of stuff. Whatever questions you may have about Magna Wave and PMF therapies and complementary therapies that work together, I'm here to answer those questions. As I was saying before we lost our signal a few minutes ago, I've been doing this since 2002, Magna Wave since 2006, 2007, and I've treated horses, people, and small animals, thousands of them around the world, and I've got customers all over the world, and so we've written a couple of books about this particular thing. So glad to be here, glad to answer your questions. Do I know all the answers? No. Do I try to get the answers that you're looking for? Absolutely. If you ask me a question that's new to me or unfamiliar to me, I'll certainly reach out to our board of doctors and people that we have in our group. We have a private group that people come to when they become associates of Magna Wave with 200 plus members in this private forum, to where somebody can go in and ask a question, and then the participating members will answer that question. And it's really intriguing because someone may ask a question about carpal tunnel, or about a foot issue on a horse, or about a small animal issue, and when everybody begins to chime in is where it gets very interesting, because people will talk about what they did, how they did it, because each animal and each person is different, and so it takes different applications, and many times depending on what the situation is. So you not only get the answer you're looking for, but you get several variations of that answer that can be very beneficial to treat situations that are different, from horse to horse, person to person, dog to dog. So we like to be able to make that forum available to the practitioners that come with us and join the Magna Wave family, as we like to call it. So here I am. If you have any questions, please ask those questions at this point in time. I'd be happy to answer them. I do want to point out a couple of things for you that are new. We've talked about for a long time. We've been in the process of safety checking, safety testing our new devices. We introduced our new digital devices almost a couple of years ago now, and they've been in the testing process all along, and which is a very arduous process when you go to testing labs. I mean, they try everything that they want to do to these machines, not only for durability, but for fire safety, electrical safety, the whole 9 yards. And they may go all the way through the test and test every little part of the machine and get to one part that all of a sudden this part could be a little different in order to make it safer and easier to use or whatever, and then that sometimes requires that we change several parts in order to make that part applicable to pass the safety testing. And so I'm very happy to announce that we've completed safety testing on our digital devices. That is the Semi machine and the Maya machine, and there is another new low-powered machine that will be coming out that will be similar to some of the other low-powered machines like the QRS and the Beamer and some of those devices that we'll soon have available. We currently are satisfying this need in the industry with the Magna Wave Easy system. We have no intention of leaving the Easy system. It's a great system and it works very well in the low power range. And so, but at any rate, our digital devices, the Maya and the Semi, have passed safety inspection. What does that mean? That means that we can now go back to Canada through Health Canada and be able to have clearance for these devices to go into Canada for human use, into Europe for human use, and other countries around the world. To export a device for human use from the United States, it must pass safety muster. It must pass safety testing in order to export as a human device. Can you export devices for veterinary use? Absolutely, you can do that, and we've done that over the years, but to be able to do it for human use. So how that works, people say, well, do you have CE approval? Yes, we have a device that is CE approved. However, we quit manufacturing that device a couple of years ago, because what happens is when you go to change something in a device that is CE approved or even FDA approved in the United States. If you do so much as change a switch, you change from a toggle switch to a push button switch, you got to go back to the CE or the FDA and say, this is what we've done, here's how it has changed the device, here's how it impacts what we're doing, and you have to do, in some cases they may say, you've changed enough that you need to retest this device or do studies on this device. Or they may say, that's fine, with these changes we see that it still falls in these parameters, so everything's fine. But you have to go through that whole process. So when you change a simple one component on a device, it may mean that the device is no longer FDA registered or FDA approved or CE registered in Canada or wherever. So with the digital devices, that's where we are, that's where we're heading, and so now we're very happy that we have the safety approval on these devices. It's exciting. There's not many companies. In fact, I think we're the only company with doing our type of device. There are other devices with PEMF that are FDA approved for depression, for autism, for brain tumors, for all kinds of non-union fractures, broken bones, that type of thing, that are approved by the FDA as PEMF devices. But of the type of devices that we have with the high voltage, low frequency devices, I think we're the only company at this point in time in the United States that is doing the safety testing, that is working to have total FDA approval for these devices, and certainly CE approval in Canada and Europe and other countries. So we're excited about that, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you understand where we are with that safety testing situation. We're really happy about it. It's been a long, arduous process, but here we go. So if you have any questions, please put them up at this point in time. I've got a few things that I've been asked. A couple of them are related to devices. One of them is in relation to how the device will help with some aspects of the body setting itself up to better heal itself. So let me get into those. The question that we've been asked a lot recently is, how many watts does it take to power this machine? What is the wattage required to operate the machine? Well, really, it's not much more than a 150 watt light bulb is what it takes. So if you were asking a question, a couple of 100 watts, 200 watts, 300 watts for sure, but it doesn't take any more power than it does to power a 110 watt light bulb. What does that mean in what is the voltage? Well, it's a 110 voltage machine. It uses 110 in Europe. Which is really cool, the Semi and the Maya machines are equipped to be used. We call them smart machines. You can take it to Europe and plug it in, and boop, the machine understands that it's got 220 coming into it, and it'll operate on the European or a lot of foreign countries 220 power sources. If you bring it back over to the United States, plug it into 110 outlet, boop, it'll do 110. And so it works in that fashion. Other machines, you have to have transformers or things like that to adapt and change the machines as far as their power usage. How many amps does it take to, does it take? About 1.8 amps is what it is as far as the amperage required to operate these devices. Those are questions that we get when people are traveling. People just want to know, well, what's the wattage, what's this? And the next question that we get asked a lot has to do with the hertz. What hertz do you operate at? Some people build devices, and then they can be all kinds of different devices, but they operate on various hertz frequencies. The hertz is where you find your radio signals, your 1390 FM or your 790, your 997 FM, AM, your 1600 AM dial, those types of signals. We operate on what's considered non-radio frequency levels, which means we don't interfere with radio signals. We're not in an area where radio signals would interfere with us. And for the most part, you put these in rooms and they do not interfere with other radio frequency devices that are in the rooms where you are using these particular devices. But with that said, again, people say, well, do you operate at 30 hertz? Do you operate at 2 hertz? Can you adjust the hertz on your settings? And the answer with our devices at this point is no. The machines operate between 50 and 60 hertz. That's the power that comes into the machine, the electrical transmission of the power that comes into the machine at that hertz level, and then that is regulated into a DC current that is used to power the device or send the signal through the coil, and then when it gets into the coil, the signal is generated by a circle. So if you have copper wire and you take it and you put it in a circle, then that's where your signal is in that circle. In the center of that circle is how your center goes, how your signal goes. With our devices, if you've got your circle, it comes out like a fountain. Comes out and goes into the center of the device in a negative positive type of signal that's being emitted. It does not create a magnetic field that will pull on a piece of metal, but it does create a magnetic field that will penetrate the magnetic, everything we're living in a magnetic field. It penetrates everything that we're doing, and you can go outside and absorb the magnetic energy that's available to you. If you're wearing rubber-soled shoes, you don't get as much because the magnetic field is coming up from the earth. If you're wearing leather shoes or you go lay on the ground, you're picking up magnetic energy as you're laying on the ground. What our devices do is create this magnetic energy, put it out in a fashion with a signal that it penetrates through the body, and there's very good things that happen with regard to setting the body up to better heal itself or to energize the body to feel better, to the overall feeling of well-being. That's what kind of happens with these devices. So the hertz is not regulated. We operate between 50 and 60 hertz, and it simply creates the basis for the power. And a lot of people ask, well, when they did the NASA study, they did it at this hertz level. And that's correct. They did the NASA study based on 10 hertz. And if you talk to Bob Dennis, who formulated and actually handled the NASA study, that 10 hertz designation was arbitrarily picked. Had to pick a hertz level to operate at. And he said, oh, let's use 10 hertz. Could have used 20, could have used 5, could have used 50, whatever. Use 10, perform the study, got the results that we're looking for. Does that mean that that's what it takes to get those results? No. What really comes down to is the waveform that's used, which Dr. Dennis has talked about at our seminars, and he and I have discussed in webinars, and they're available on our podcast through the Magna Wave website. It's the waveform, the energy that's exchanged. It's an energy exchange that's critical and important to these devices. And so the waveforms where it comes from. And he talks about that a lot when we've had various meetings and conferences when it comes to that type of question. Okay, so let's see. We've got a question here. Do you have a treatment plan for neuropathy of the feet for diabetes? Well, for sure. Neuropathy is when you have problems with your nerves. They will atrophy. They will kind of die off. They will become inflamed. You'll have inflammation of the nerves, which hinders how they work and how they operate. And so you want to aid with the whole situation. When you're talking about diabetes, you've got things going on in the body that is influencing the nerves, causing them to have this type of situation. So, I'm going to say two things here. If you equate it to where if you go to the fair and you wear the wrong kind of shoes, by the time you're finished at the end of the day, you're very sore in your feet, your hips, your back, wherever the situation may be, because you wore the wrong shoes. And so when we're dealing with some of these indications, if you can't keep, you got to keep your diet in line, you got to keep your blood sugar in control, you got to have all these things going, then you can come work on the neuropathy situation at the same time. If I work on somebody's back who's wearing the wrong shoes or can't get the control of that, then it's much harder to deal with the back pain because they keep wearing the wrong shoes. But if you correct the whole thing at one time, then you can have a better result with what we're looking to do. But the treatment plan, the guideline for dealing with neuropathy type of situations, let's say if it's in the feet for sure, we would want to treat or do a session on the feet, whether you put the large coil on the floor, put the feet in the middle of the large coil, you're going to be able to turn the machine pretty high at that point, because you're not going to really feel it. You're not physically putting the coil on the tissue. You could use the butterfly loop and put one foot on each side of the butterfly, or you could put a foot on top of the butterfly. You could use the mat, put both feet on the mat. You could use the paddle, put the paddle underneath the foot, put it on top of the foot, do it, kind of alternate it from one foot to the next, top, bottom this time, whatever the situation may be. Basically what we want to do is put the energy into the area of the body, allowing the blood that's flowing through there to be flow more readily the way it's supposed to help it be oxygenated, pick up oxygen that's available to it, so it will help reduce any inflammation that's associated with that nerve condition, however it's brought on, to ease the pain, ease the feeling that is there. Are you going to get this relief in one treatment? Sometimes you might, but most of the time it's going to take multiple treatments because it didn't come overnight and it's not going to go away overnight. But that's one way I would do it. I would also, in many cases, if you're dealing with a situation in the feet, you want the blood flow going to the feet. So you want to basically get the entire body's blood flow in a good position. So you want to maybe treat the upper body so we can help the overall blood oxygenation of the body, allow the body to better uptake the blood that's uptake the oxygen, or collect, whatever you want to say, collect the oxygen that's available to the blood and then make it good and healthy. So as it circulates throughout the body, it's going to help whatever region of the body it goes to. So you would basically treat the legs, perhaps, the feet, and the whole body to get good blood movement throughout the whole body so it can go help that area where you're experiencing issues with neuropathy. And but that would be the treatment regimen. Treat the area. It's going to take more than one treatment probably. Some people may require treatments once a week, once a month for a long period of time. Others, you may get it to where it's in control that they need to come back when it starts bothering them. Each person is different. Each situation with the neuropathy type of issue will deal. Are you going to heal the neuropathy? No. Are you going to better prepare the body to deal with it? Potentially. So that's where we are with talking about these types of things. Great question. Appreciate the question, Krista, and I hope that helps. If you'd like a further explanation, just type something else there in the chat box, and I'd be happy to approach it. Chisholm writes, is Magna Wave safe for people with metal implants, plates, screws, etc.? Yes, as a rule, we have found if someone has a metal screw or a plate or a rod or something in their body, it has not been an issue to have a session over that area. You always want to check. You always want to put the coil on someone or have someone put the coil, run the machine for a couple of minutes on a moderate setting and see how they feel. Typically, I mean, I can tell you since 2006 that I've been dealing with these types of high-powered machines. In 2002, since I've been dealing with PEMF therapy, and doing sessions, I really have had no issues with people that have had implanted metal or rods or plates in their body. A lot of times they have issues with pain, knee replacements. People have used this to control the inflammation or to make their knees get rid of the inflammation to feel better. Not been an issue. Where we come into an issue is if someone's got an implanted device, for example, a stent, a shunt perhaps in the head or the brain for drainage that has to be programmed. That's a big question. We don't want to deal with that program that you got to have somebody come in and reprogram everything, and which can be quite an ordeal. So you need to know where it's at. But certainly defibrillators, pacemakers, those types of devices. People have had implants in their back for pain that they punch the button or it's there and it helps control the pain. In many cases, they can disconnect those so you don't run down the batteries. That's the main thing. You don't want to interfere with the power source. Is something like this going to set off a defibrillator or a pacemaker? Typically no, but you don't want to mess up the power source that it won't work. So that's where those things are contraindicated. But as a rule, we've not had much of an issue with rods, staples, screws, those types of things. They're big. The only time that there was an occasion that has been talked about somewhat, a woman had a breast cancer issue, and they put what I'm going to describe as the tip of a needle into her breast as a target for the radiation. It was so small that one of our more powerful machines could heat that up a little bit. They'll know if it's warm. And so, but it was so minutely small that it was just, a very small thing with a lot of power. It did heat up a little bit. But as a rule, not an issue. So I hope that answers that question. This next question, do you suggest starting each session with a whole body oxygenation, and what's your preferred method and length of time for this? Well, that's a great question. As a rule, or as a standard guideline, to do a whole body in some fashion certainly allows the body to what it does is as the signal goes into the body, it's in such a manner that it allows the cell membrane to become more permeable, making it more available to take up the oxygen that's there for it. And so if it becomes very well oxygenated, then it's a healthier cell and it can better do its job of fighting, healing, helping, whatever it's going to do. So we want oxygen in, toxins out. We want the cells to be able to absorb or better take up the proteins that are available to them through the bloodstream of the body. So we make that cell wall more permeable, oxygen can get in, and the cells better do their job. So to do an overall body treatment to get good oxygenation is great. Is that something you can do each time? Sure. Is it necessary? No. If you've got a sore elbow and you're going to work on that elbow, you put the coil on there and you treat it and you take care of the inflammation that's in that area, then you're going to get some relief. The more you do it, the longer the relief will last. But if you're doing that now, if you do that and you make that elbow feel better, which you can do very quickly, but then to maybe put that large loop on the back for 10 minutes because the blood circulates through the body very quickly. So if you put that loop up there for 10, 15 minutes, it's going to basically give all the blood in the body an opportunity to be healthier, to have better oxygenation. Where's that blood going to go? Right to that elbow. So you take care of the issue right now, and then you let the blood of the body circulate for hours or however long it takes before it begins to degrade again or to become stagnant, whatever term you want to use. And so you're going to get a longer result. You're going to get a better result because you're continuing to nourish this area with good oxygenated blood. So here it is. You can take your device, reduce the inflammation in this area because that's what the device is, an inflammation reduction device, and it feels better and works good. But if you come back and do the whole system and nourish this for the hours to come, you get a longer term result. I kind of did it this morning. I took a long walk last night with my wife, got up this morning, my lower right back was bothering me. I went right in, sat down, treated myself for about 9 minutes on a moderate setting with what would be a Max machine or a Pulse Pro machine size and signal. And at the end of my 9 minutes, I stood up. I felt much better. It was still there. But through that 9 minutes, I pretty much helped all the blood in my body. So over the next hour, it was gone. It just continued to nourish itself and work itself out through that period. So that's how it works. So to answer your question, full body is great. Localized is fine, but you have those choices. If you're charging people by the minute, they may want to treat just their elbow, and then come back later and treat it 2 or 3 times a week or whatever they want to do. But if they on occasion have a chance to treat the whole body, it really improves the entire sense of well-being. It helps people sleep better. All these types of things happen just by rejuvenating, and that's what it is. It's a rejuvenation process. I call it energy supplementation. We're just putting an energy into the body in the form of a supplement. It's non-invasive, doesn't hurt, off-the-shelf type of device. You're making things feel better, and that's a good thing. It never hurts to have a good sense of well-being. Hey, Emily, hello to Green Bay. And if you have other questions, please throw them out there, and I'd be happy to answer them at this point. Some great questions today. I always enjoy seeing the questions that come and how people ask various things that they want to know. So I've covered the wattage, the power required, the hertz of the devices. Another question that we receive all the time is, what is the difference between a Magna Wave and the Beamer? And the primary difference between the two devices is speed of results. They're both creating a magnetic field. They both are beneficial in what they do. They both will help the body better set itself up. The difference is the high voltage, low frequency device like the Magna Wave will do things very fast. And then the Beamer can support that if you want to use it in that fashion. So if you want to put it on something and have a result right now, then our type of device is where you want to go. If you want to have yourself in a situation that you sit down to watch television in the evening and you sit on this device for a half hour, or you place this device on you for a half hour, an hour every night over a period of time, you're going to gain some benefit that you're looking for. So really, the primary difference comes down to speed of result that you're looking for. There is some discussion out there, and this is the thing that's very beneficial about our device. We go from very low setting to a pretty high setting. So a lot of these studies have shown, and Dr. Dennis talks about this, the higher voltage machines can very quickly get after the inflammation reduction and pain relief. But then he feels like some of those lower settings are a little more beneficial for the healing process. Fine. With our devices, you can come in there and get rid of the inflammation, get rid of or help relieve some of the pain. And if you want to turn it down and run it for a little longer period of time to promote some healing, great. What we found in our studies, and we've done a couple of studies utilizing our equipment specifically, is we see the same type of results when you sit down and treat somebody or go through a session regimen, that the healing is there, or that people feel the results that they're looking for. They're happy. The body's set up to better heal itself. And so whether or not the difference in speed is from what we've seen, is kind of negligible. But if you want to do it from that perspective and approach it from that perspective, great. You can do that with our type of devices on the total range of setting from very low to a higher type of setting. So great question. We get calls all the time. What is the difference between the Magna Wave and the Beamer? And that's the primary difference, is speed of result that you're looking for with these devices. Okay, any other questions, folks? If you have any other questions, throw them up there. We've been on for about a half hour now. Pretty good. Some pretty good questions. I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary, and I want to answer any of the questions that you may have. And so I've received a question yesterday. It's about HA, hyaluronic acid, collagen in the body. Collagen, hyaluronic acid, oftentimes used as interchangeable. The body contains collagen throughout the body. Hyaluronic acid is present throughout the body in every place in the body. What the hyaluronic acid is basically synovial fluid. It's the fluids of the body to keep everything supple, everything well lubricated, the whole 9 yards with that type of situation. The PEMF therapy. PEMF has been shown to increase the body's ability to, or improve the body's ability to manufacture collagen and to manufacture hyaluronic acid, HA, however you want to call it. And so is it effective in doing that? For sure. There are supplements, Lubricin, for example, that is HA, hyaluronic acid. And the body builds up its hyaluronic acid over our joints, and it keeps them fluid. When you go work in the yard or go exercise or ride or compete in athletics, you're sore sometimes afterwards. Well, that's waiting for the body to rebuild the lubricant and get it in there and make things operate well. As we age, we don't make the fluids as rapidly as we did when we were younger. So then we might need some supplementation to help those fluids be in the body. If we're very strenuous athletes, then we're going to deplete that HA. Horses do this. They deplete that HA, and so it's going to build up. But in the meantime, they're getting sore. So if you take a supplementation or you use a device like ours to help keep that inflammation at bay, to help the body help rebuild its HA necessary, or the collagen for the body, then all of that is beneficial. And you'll see things, and people will do this, is they'll use a cream that's got a collagen in it or hyaluronic acid. They'll put the cream on their face, and then they'll take a coil and hold it up to their face, and they'll put that energy, that pulsing energy, into the area, and it helps with wrinkle reduction. It helps with skin firmness and skin, so your skin can be supple. People will use these, and they'll put a topical on the hand of Lubricin, and then they'll put a coil on there in many cases to help push that topical application into the skin to make the skin more supple, thicker, the whole operation there. And so people, that as they age, their skin gets thinner, and so you can use some of these things along with, complementary with our type of a device, to help push it in. Topically, if you're using an ointment on an elbow or a knee, whether it's a dog or a cat or a horse or a person, and you can then use this type of device to help push that topical application into the body for the results that you're looking for. So very effective in that regard to help the body produce its collagen, hyaluronic acid, synovial fluids that are necessary in the body, that are throughout the body. Great question. I hope this helps you folks. Another question. A couple of questions. Can you use the Magna Wave Pro wands in a metal chair? Well, it depends. And the reason I say it depends is what happens if you have a situation where you have a little washer, or you have where there's a hole in the chair that the screw goes through to attach the metal portions of the chair together. If that's good and tight, I mean, if it's very snug, you're fine. If there is some air gap between those two parts, you can get an arcing. You can get a little sparking on that metal spot. So you can have a total aluminum chair with a washer and a screw system that's metal, holding two parts of that chair together, and because they're not tightly touching, they're like this. If you just imagine that, you could get a little arcing between those two parts. Got metal chairs in the office here that we have in the clinic that have metal parts to them that we use all the time, and we don't get any sparking. On the other hand, you can use a chair that is more loosely made, that because of the way they're riveted together, you can get some sparking. So it just depends. The other thing that regulates that is the strength of the machine. You may have a chair that you can use the machine on moderately and you don't get any arcing or sparking, and so you use it at that setting if you're using that chair. But that's typically the thing. If it's same thing with if you're wearing jewelry and you have a chain, whether it's on your wrist or maybe a chain around the neck. If it's a very loosely made chain, or I don't mean loosely not made well, but very loosely constructed chain, then you could conceivably get some arcing, little ticking on that chain. That's why we recommend that people take jewelry off. And so you don't experience that type of interaction between the loose metal that's not quite tightly knitted together, if you will. So to answer your question, metal chairs, you got to test each chair individually to find one that works for you, and in that regard. Okay, when treating a head for headaches, neck pain, sinuses, do you have a preferred time to treat on the head? Well, there's two things. If you're doing a session and you're around someone's head, you certainly don't want to be too high. I mean, because we're talking it's constricted. It's not like if you pulse my muscle here, it's going to pulse here. But if you pulse the brain, the muscle, the part in the brain, you're talking about a constricted area. So moderation is the key. If you have the coil sitting on someone's shoulders, for example, and the coil is sitting right here, it's going this way, up and down. So we're going into the head, and we're going into the shoulders, lungs, that whole type of thing for, again, the nourishment of the blood oxygenation and the blood flow. So to kind of time, I would say, if you're going to take a coil and maybe rest it right here at the back of the head if someone's having a headache, 5 to 8 minutes. Can you go a little longer on low? Yeah, but certainly any more than 8-10 minutes is plenty. But you would just put it very comfortably, put it here or rest it on the shoulders. Again, where the center of the coil is, that's where the signal is going. So it's coming out like this, basically, in the center. Now, when you use the paddle is kind of like a solid thing, and it's coming out more like some people call it a pancake effect. It's like a bright spotlight. It's coming out solid, not like a fountain that's coming like this. But so you just simply place that very comfortably, place it on the back of the head, and then what we have found that works incredibly well if you're treating for a headache, and I'll come back to sinuses, but to treat the feet, same thing. Rest the feet on the coil and treat the feet after you have treated the shoulders or the back of the head for a headache, migraine, whatever it may be, and then you're getting the reflexology aspect of treating the feet, and we've seen wonderful results with headaches and discomfort and those types of situations. Sinuses, same kind of thing. You could hold the coil up to your face very comfortably. You'll as you turn it up, you might feel a little twitching right here, or you might feel a little twitching at various spots. If you have fillings, if you turn it up too high, they'll feel it in their fillings. So you want to just turn it down to where it's comfortable. But you simply place it, and I would say again, 6 to 8 minutes at a very moderate setting, comfortable setting, to do it here, is the type of session that you would want to use to again get good flow to the area to help open things up and get good drainage to enhance the drainage. What happens is it's massaging. We've had situations where someone may be constipated. We've had it in horses where they get a condition colic, which is a stomach ache, or into the intestines, and they get a blockage. They get severely constipated, if you will. And so what are we going to do? And so for the longest period of time, we debated on whether or not it was a good thing to do or not a good thing to do. But over time, the doctors have understood, and they've seen how this can work, and they apply it. And so we're basically massaging the colon and massaging the intestines to hopefully help move whatever is causing a blockage there away. If it's gas, to help, massage the gas to get the gas to release. And so can that be beneficial for sinuses to kind of massage the area? For sure. There's been people, how do they do it? They'll do this. If they've got a sinus issue, they'll simply do this type of thing, and they get some relief in their sinuses. Well, that's basically what we're doing with our magnetic signal to that area, to the sinus area of the body, helping things to be relieved and feel better. Let's see, we got neck, sinuses. Time, it's pretty standard, 6 to 8 minutes, 10 minutes if you wish. Anything more than 15 minutes on a general area is overkill. You just don't need that much more time than that. And that's really for about any of our devices, whether it's the Simi, the Pulse Pro, the Maya, or the Max. 6 to 8 minutes for a generalized type of treatment is all you need. More than 15 minutes is more energy than is needed in any one area at any one time. Can you go longer? Of course. Do you need to go longer? No, typically not. So that's how we kind of approach that type of timing. Now, so you talk about overall time. So I'm treating this area, my sinuses, for 6 to 8 minutes, and then how long can I treat my elbow? 6 to 8, 15 minutes, whatever you want to do on your elbow. I want to treat my low back. Okay, go do another thing to treat your low back for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want to do. And so when I'm done, I've treated myself for an hour. Yeah, that's okay. It's not the kind of thing that you necessarily going to do every day, but you can do it multiple days to get ahead of situations. I mean, some people have their feet that bother them, their shoulder bothers them, and we need to work on everything. When I first got started, and I'd be at the racetrack, and I'd work, and the jockeys, I'd work on some jockeys, and they'd say, "Man, my low back is killing me. Can you do a treatment? Can you do a session here to help my low back?" Sure. So I'd put it on their low back, and they'd stand up and say, "Boy, I feel better." Come back the next day. "What'd you do to me? My shoulders are killing me." Their shoulders were always bothering them, but their low back was bothering them more. So once we got them feeling more flexible and better feeling in their low back, they realized that their shoulders were bothering them. So we'd treat their shoulders. We'd kind of chase the pain around their body to get rid of it, or to relieve that type of situation that they were enduring. And so that quite often happens. Your body basically picks up one pain signal at a time. You may hurt all over, but there's something hurting more than someplace else. You've heard the story. "Oh, my back's killing me. Great, I got a hammer. Give me your thumb." Boom, your back's not hurting anymore, your thumb's killing you. So your body picks up wherever the pain is coming from. And so then we need to work out where's the pain. We're not docs, so we don't know. I'm sore here in my lower left back. Well, did it come from my knee? Did it come from sciatic? Where's it coming from? Don't know. That's not our job. Our job is to just help the body be a better position to better heal itself. But quite often there are referred pains, referred areas of that pain. I could just keep going, because the more I talk, the more I think about things, how they tie into this. But I don't want to keep you any longer than you need to be. We've gone about 40 minutes now at this point. And again, some great questions. So if you have any additional questions, I'll hang for another minute or two. If you have a question, please ask it. I'd be happy to answer it. If I didn't answer a question today that you want to have answered, send me an email Pat Ziemer, Ziemer, at Magna Wave, PEMF.com, and I'd be happy to answer it on a Magna Wave Minute or on one of the Magna Wave office hours for you to get the answers that you're looking for when it comes to this type of application, this type of device that we're using. So I'm very thankful for the questions that we've received thus far. Let me make sure that there's nothing else on here that I need to go over. Again, if you've got a question, just throw it up there. I'm going to hang around for another minute or so. If you have a question, I'm happy to answer it. Very appreciative of the folks that have joined us today. Always look forward to these times to be able to share with you what I've been able to experience over the years. And I'll tell you, if there's a question that I can't answer, I'll go find somebody that can answer the question. We've got doctors who refer to us and doctors who consult with us, whether they're MDs, chiropractors, PhDs in some respects with our various products that we have, the Hydro Wave, the C60, and the other products that we have available that we're going to be introducing here in the short run to be very complementary to the Magna Wave device. And there are plenty of things that people use in a complementary series with Magna Wave PEMF, and I'd be happy to address those as we go along. So I want to thank you for being with me. I think it's as I said, it's always enjoyable visiting with you, and wish you a great day, the remaining of this Tuesday, and I look forward to talking to you next time on the Magna Wave office hours next Tuesday. Talk to you later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.